joined again by one of our favorites, Trey Wallace. He's a national college sports writer for Outkick. Trey, it's been a while, man. How you been?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. We're getting everything, I think the crazy part about this time of year is like, in the last however many years, we've both been doing this. It's like, all right, we're getting ready for the 14 playoff, or we're getting ready for whatever the national championship is, and the season will be done in 2 weeks. No. We've still got a good, 45 days left and 4 games. Like, yeah, man, it's been a wild time. And I can't forget about the transfer portal. It's like, okay, all right, like this is going on as well. So it's nonstop, brother.
Yeah, well, let's try to go in order then. Let's start with the portal. I'm just kind of curious if are you hearing some of the stuff I'm hearing, like just some of the figures with the revenue sharing, supposed to be kicking off in July 1. Obviously, players are well aware of all that, but I mean, I'm hearing some wild figures like Jackson Arnold, $2.5 million. I had an Oklahoma fan DM me. They're like, "We got John Mateer we offered him $1.5 million." And I said, "Buddy, now that Miami's in the mix, I don't even know if he'd pick up the phone for $1.5 million." I mean, are these figures blown out of proportion, or are they accurate? I mean, are some of these guys, and specifically quarterbacks, because we all know you can't win without a quarterback, right? Are they getting astronomical figures thrown at them?
I think what we've seen is you look at the market and how it's been over the last couple of years. It all started, with the Nico contract, and you're like, okay, so how I look at it and talking with agents and talking with schools and different sources is, it's like going back to that first big contract that was out there, and then, okay, so what's the market look like now? And I think, like what Cam Ward did last year and signing with Miami for a good chunk of money. I think, a lot of people were like, okay, is this what the market is going to be like going forward, even with revenue sharing? And I would say yes, because the numbers that you're hearing right now for some of these players, Jackson Arnold, $2.5 million. I've heard it's not that high, but it's not like it's far off. And it's crazy to say, like, okay, what's a $500,000 difference? But that's a lot when it comes to a college football player. When it comes to Jake Matter, who just lost his head coach, after he entered the portal. I have a feeling also he knew that he was losing his head coach, by the way, and entered the portal. I think that kind of helped the situation, even though I think he was leaving, as Dickert went to Wake Forest. So look, I think where we're at right now, Mike, with the numbers is these schools understand that the face of the program is that quarterback position. Now, look, we could talk about like Travis Hunter and whatnot, but man, that's like a once in a generation type player. So the money that you're seeing right now, it's not far-fetched, and I don't think it's being exaggerated. Yes, there are agents out there that want to put out, hey man, I got my client, $2.25 million for 1 year. And I think a little bit of is bragging by the agents and trying to put out a number, because here's the school is never going to confirm the number. Like the collective is never going to confirm the number. I could come out and say a kid's making $3.5 million, and the collective and the school are gonna be like, all right, we can't comment on that. But hey, we love that you're saying we're giving that much. And so I think that also what you're seeing too is, where's the stud quarterback in this class? You know what I mean? Like and that's no offense to Malik Murphy. That's no offense to, to Matters, no offense to Jackson Arnold and whatnot. But I don't think there's been that guy that you're like, okay, that's a program changing quarterback right now. And who knows what it could be like in a different system, Mike, that. So I think with like Jackson Arnold, I think that number is kind of around there. I wouldn't go with the straight $2.5 million and talking with folks, but Auburn paid, and Auburn had to pay for a quarterback. They had to figure out, because it's like I've been talking about for a couple months with Hugh Freeze. Like Auburn was going to go all in with the NIL because they were going to give Hugh Freeze the best opportunity to win at Auburn next year. Because if he doesn't win at Auburn next year, in my opinion, they're looking for a new head coach. And I understand that they got Deuce Night and all that good stuff, but if you come out there and you throw another 6-win season up, or you have 5 win, like the folks down at Auburn are getting tired of that. They want to start winning football games and be in contention for the playoffs going forward. So I think, man, Mike, I think the numbers are where they are, and I think you're starting to see other type of players too get good chunks. 1.5 million for an offensive lineman. Receivers, getting that 1.2 range. So we're just at a different point, and I think one of the other things that stands out to me, Mike, too, is there's a lot of bridge deals being put in place in hopes that the revenue sharing will go through in July. So when I say bridge, deals, I'm talking about, like, okay, from December until July 1st, when they think revenue sharing is going to go through if this judge approves it. So, you're seeing a lot of kids make a lot of money in like a short period of time, 7, 8 month, 9 month time period. So I'm fascinated to kind of wrap it around that, because I'm fascinated to see how revenue sharing plays into this, because we know these schools, sure, they're going to have 15 mil, 16 mil for football. But at the same time, there's going to be collectives that are still going to be around, trying to fund some of these bigger deals that are in place on rosters right now.
And have you heard this, Trey? Because I think you hit on something very critical there. Where are the big name quarterbacks? Well,
yeah,
they're not in the portal yet. And
right.
I'm hearing they could be. Guys like, obviously, Quinn Ewers, there's a lot of smoke, but it kind of blew me away when I heard Carson Beck thrown into that conversation, because I think his stock, his NFL stock, I think it's taken a hit this year. I don't think he's the presumed number one pick anymore. And then, of course, Jalen Milroe. So, hey, I hope these guys all go pro, and I hope they get their first round picks and they make millions and millions and millions of dollars. But if you got Notre Dame, if you got, let's say John Mateer does go to Oklahoma, Miami's still in the market, Oregon perhaps in the market. These are the programs. Notre Dame specifically, I've already heard has already got an offer for Quinn Ewers if he wants it. Have you heard any of the stuff on those guys?
Yeah, I have, and it's because of the unknown with the Carson Beck situation. Carson Beck, man, I like to call him first half Beck, this year, just because I don't want to hate on the young man, because I think he is he's a good leader inside the program. At the same time, though, we have seen multiple games this season where he has hurt himself when it comes to draft stock for next year. When everybody coming into the season was like, oh, well, Carson Beck, first round talent, he's going to be fighting with Shador to be that guy, but at the same time, I look at Carson Beck and I'm like, Carson Beck could use another year of college. That's my opinion. Could Quinn Ewers use another year? Probably. Yeah. I mean, it's the risk, that's really what it is here. I mean, you look at the Beck situation, look how crazy this could have really gotten. Like, we don't know the full extent of his injury. Like, we don't. And Georgia's not releasing that. His family's not releasing that. So what I'm saying is, though, there is that, that thought that, oh my goodness, something could have gone wrong. Was it a partial tear of his UCL? Was it a sprain? Was it a leg? So what I'm getting at is that you're taking chances right now with these quarterbacks. And I think that you're correct. I think when you look around college football and the 12 teams that are still fighting for a national championship and the quarterbacks that are on those teams, I think you're in a spot where, yes, there are a number of different programs. Like, honestly, if Carson Beck decided to stick around or something like that, could this be a situation where, okay, well, if Quinn Ewers decides to go to the draft, wait a minute, is Carson Beck coming back? But does he play for Georgia? Or does he go play for Notre Dame? Like, there's just a bunch of different scenarios out there right now. And I have heard those. I think that there are decisions that are going to have to be made. Like, it's Arch Manning time in Texas. Like, that's it. Like, Arch is set long enough. Like, here we go. Like, after this season's over, it's not, he's not sitting on the bench any longer. It's time for him to get in the game. And so Quinn Ewers would have to make that decision. Okay, am I going to risk going to the NFL and potentially dropping second, third round? Or do I go make, I don't know, 4 million over a year and a half, something like that, to go play at school like Notre Dame or go play, what. So yeah, those conversations are happening right now, and I think a lot of it is probably going to come, I would say, after the second round of the playoffs, because you still have and I want the second round is kind of tough because of that date.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be honest with you, there's also the spring portal period that's available too. So I think that if you don't see a lot of movement right now, do you see a kid stay out of the draft, prepare himself to go to another team, and then end up with that team in the spring? Like, so those are different equations that are out there right now. And so I'm looking at this and I think, yeah, there's a couple of quarterbacks that are going to be playing for a title that probably either are going to the NFL or they're going to be on a different team next season. I think the money is there because these programs want to win right now, and so I get it. So yeah, you're spot on with what you're hearing because it's the same stuff that I'm hearing, and I think that you could see some movement if somebody gets eliminated this weekend. Let's just say Clemson beat Texas. Whatever, it is what it is. Don't think that's going to happen, but it could. Who knows? Yeah, I think you'll know something about Quinn Ewers by Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So it's not like these discussions aren't already going on while they're preparing for the playoff, is what I'm getting at. So yeah, I think you're right on. And I think some of the numbers out there too, Mike, I think these are agents that are shopping around and just seeing what the value could be. And if it's good enough, why not take the risk? It's better than, is it better to go make $4 million now or go sit for 3 years in the NFL? Like, that's how I look at it. So it's going to be fascinating over the next couple of weeks, brother.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Auburn being aggressive. Hugh Freeze famously said last summer, "I ain't paying $1 million for a quarterback," and we saw how that worked for him. And another one, we saw Brian Kelly. We ain't attracting people because of money, and now they're killing it in the transfer portal. And
money's a factor.
I stress to the audience: do not, this is hilarious. I've seen LSU media. They're like, the new portal king, Brian Kelly. Like, come on, get over yourself. This is all about money, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just being transparent. I'm keeping it real. But LSU's going all in on the portal because they had a down year, as is kind of Auburn. Do you like that strategy? And I mean, we have seen it not really pay off, but I think you almost have to do it if you're an LSU, if you're an Auburn. Otherwise, if you just sit on your hands, I don't think you're getting much better in a single off season without the portal.
Well, I think like Florida State was like an anomaly. You know what I mean? Like, who saw that coming? You know what I mean? Like, yes, they went out and they paid money in the portal and they thought they were going to have themselves a season that would back up 2023, and it just went to hell in a handbasket really quick. But they had to spend money. Like, that's an expensive roster in Tallahassee that just went 2-10 on the season or whatever the record was. So I think LSU, a school like LSU, is like, wait a minute. Like, we are LSU. We're not going to sit around here and watch these other programs that are going to spend the money, that are going to have success, and we're just going to sit back and try to do it the old-fashioned way. No, it doesn't work. I'm sorry, man. We're in a different game now, brother. Like, you can say, man, we can develop you, and you can be this, and this program. We got the best coach staff. It don't mean a damn thing anymore. It might mean something to a high school kid that you've been recruiting for 2 or 3 years, but it doesn't mean a damn thing for the starting quarterback at UCLA that is going out and trying to find the best spot where A, he can be the starter, B, he can make the most money he can in college football. So that's what you're seeing out of LSU. You're seeing it out of Auburn. You're seeing it at a number of schools right now that are investing the money. I mean, look at Ole Miss from last year. You spending that amount of money, and that Kentucky loss kept them out of the playoffs. And I think, but you had to take that risk, Mike. Like, that was the thing. Like, Lane Kiffin and them understood, okay, if I'm going to make it, I'm going to win a national championship at Ole Miss, I got to go out and spend the money. And they did. Okay, they came up a little bit short. It's tough. Ole Miss fans are agitated. I get it. But at the same time, if you're not trying, and you're going to be in a situation where your team is going to be 7-5 or 6-6 or whatnot, and it's not going to make a damn worth the difference at the end of the day. So yeah, you're seeing a lot of boosters you're seeing a lot of programs right now saying, all right, we're going to invest. Like, look what LSU did on Tuesday. Like, LSU came back out and said, hey, all right, well, last week we did this match for match thing with Brian Kelly where he's going to put in $1 million. And then all of a sudden they come back out on Tuesday and say, we had an anonymous donor say that they will also match another $1 million if it comes in. Like, come on, man. The anonymous donor is some booster that's around the program all the time, that's been giving money for years. It's not some I hate how they use it. It's like, we got a surprise email from a guy that says, I'll give you $1 million. No, you didn't. You've had this shit planned. I'm sorry. Like, you've had it planned. So, yes, to answer your question, brother, like, yeah, that's what you're seeing right now. And you have to do that in this day and age, man. If you're going to survive in college football and you're going to compete for titles, you got to do it. Look at Dabo. Dabo finally went out and got him a transfer portal player. You know, it's like the world's coming to an end. So, yeah, you're seeing it, my man.
Well, speaking of the world coming to an end, that's what's going to happen in Columbus on Saturday. If Tennessee marches in there, I'm saying if. Again, I think home field advantage could be paramount in the playoff and specifically that game Saturday night. Everybody's eyeing Tennessee, Ohio State as the best matchup in round one. You'll be there. What's the biggest storylines for you heading into this one?
I think, I got a piece coming out. I know this podcast coming out. I got whenever it does. But I got a piece coming out on Wednesday, and it's about Ohio State embracing the chaos of the invasion that's coming from Tennessee fans. And the way that I look at it is this is just a pageantry of college football, man. Like, this is it. Like, Ohio State fans are agitated, and I get it. I'm not being mean to Ohio State fans when I say this. I'm being realistic here. They see all these Tennessee fans that are on social media and, we're buying tickets and we're invading Columbus and we're going to have 15 to 20,000 fans there and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, cool. Like, that's just going to add to the pageantry of Saturday night. That's awesome. Have 20,000 Tennessee fans there. And if you're an Ohio State fan, welcome it. What's 20,000 fans going to do compared to 80,000 fans? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, welcome it. It gives you a hell of a lot more people to trash talk to if you come out of there with a win and you beat Tennessee. So why not have fun with it? I think it's fascinating to me that, and I get it, that we've talked more about weather and ticket sales than the actual game itself. And I think that's what makes the college football playoff fun, because nobody knows what to expect. I mean, it's like a regular season game, if you really look at it. Tennessee's going to travel up on Friday. They're going to go take the field. They're going to have to sit around and wait in a hotel room all day Saturday. They're going to have to go over to the shoe at 6:00 and get prepared for a game. Like, this is, I know it's the playoffs, but it's not like a bowl game where you're going to spend a week at a spot. But before you take the field, I think Saturday night, to me, first off, it's going to be like mesmerizing. It's going to be really cool to see a matchup like this on a Saturday night in the playoffs. Yes, it is the prime game of the day. I'm not taking away anything from any other games that are going on, because I think there's a couple of them that are going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking at SMU, Penn State. That one could get interesting. And I think I think this is setting up for, if Ohio State comes out, and I think they learned their lesson against Michigan, where they tried to come out against Michigan and they tried to play bully ball and be like, hey, man, we're just going to run the ball down your throat, and that's how we're going to beat you. Well, no, didn't work out like that. I've seen Ohio State play in person against Penn State. I know what they can do on offense with Will Howard and passing the ball down the field. That's what would concern me if I was a Tennessee fan for this game, is if Chip Kelly decides, all right, we're going to open this thing back up and we're going to throw the ball around and sling it. Okay, let's see if Tennessee secondary can keep up with it. On the flip side of that, Tennessee's running game with Dylan Sampson, if he holds on to the football, which I think he can, whatever. It's going to me, that's going to be the stamp of the game right there. If Tennessee rushes the ball and Dylan Sampson, let's just say, gets $130 and 2 touchdowns, I think that's how Tennessee wins the game, because Nico has shown progression over the last 4 games of the season, and I know who the opponents are. You don't have to lay them out. I get who the opponents are, but it's more about how he's done it compared to who the opponents have been. So I think that it's not going to phase Tennessee, and I don't mean that as a slight to like Ohio State. It's like Tennessee's gone on the road for some tough environments. I mean, they went down to Georgia and had to play in that crazy environment in Athens. I don't think, the atmosphere is going to catch them off guard. I think that some things that Chip Kelly and Ohio State do on offense that could catch Tennessee. So I'm thrilled to be able to go cover this game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the environment is going to be fantastic. I do think there's going to be a crap load of Tennessee fans there because, and here's the reason why too. I look at it like March Madness, brother. Okay. Like you get a chance to go to the Sweet 16, Elite Eight. You're going to get fans to go. I know basketball is a neutral site. I get that part. But when you have an opportunity like this, and for Tennessee fans, wherever they live, but I'm just saying if they lived in Knoxville or Nashville or something like that, it's a 5.5 hour drive. That's nothing. And you got tickets that are on sale. They start ticket brokers are getting killed. I mean, tickets started at $450 to sit up here. Now it's down to $120 to sit down here. So I'm just saying, don't be surprised. And I would say for Ohio State fans, like I said at the beginning of this, embrace it, have fun with it, because this is going to be a different type of feel Saturday night. And I think that's what's going to make this game so much fun, is seeing, the amount of orange in the stands and the scarlet and the shows and everything that they're going to do. And then you got the football on the field. Like everything is just lining up for this to be like a once in a generation type of experience. And it's cool that we're getting it in the college football playoff, Mike.
Yeah. How about the other game, Texas Clemson? You think, when you hear Clemson, you think of, national championships, Dabo Swinney, but that's been quite a while ago. It's actually Texas that has the more playoff experience. Do you think that last year's trip to the playoff and all they've accomplished this year in the SEC will help the Longhorns in this 12-team playoff home game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps. I think also at the same time though, I was there in Atlanta. I was watching Quinn Ewers, and at times, man, Quinn Ewers just throwing the ball like a loaf of bread to the outside, and that's where Georgia took advantage. If they get into a situation on Saturday where Quinn Ewers is, I'm not going to say having a bad game. I mean, against Georgia, he did throw for 350 yards, but he did have those 2 interceptions. I am saying, though, that there's an opportunity for Clemson. I think people are still kind of sleeping on Clemson because of the way they got in. And I understand it completely. I get it because you look at how Clemson's played this year. But all it takes is one game. All it takes is one game for Cade Klubnik to pass for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and them being able to run the football, and Texas just have a bad game on offense. And then things get switched up. Look, Texas defense, I think that's what wins them the game. I think you're going to see some Arch Manning in this game. At times, I think they'll have some packages for him. But looking at it, brother, I mean, we can try to just write this off and be like, all right, Texas is going to go to the Peach Bowl. They're going to play Arizona State, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I know Dabo is going to bring everything he can to Austin, Texas and try to throw it at them. And we're going to find out if they can come through. I feel like this game is going to be better than what people think right now. I mean, I know what Vegas has as a point spread. I know a lot of people think, all right, Texas is, they'll take advantage of Clemson's secondary and whatnot. I'm just saying, don't sleep on Clemson. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I am saying by the fourth quarter, this game could be tight. And it's the same way that I feel, for the SMU Penn State game. Like I know Penn State's a good football team, but I also know what SMU can do in the passing game with Kevin Jennings. So it's like, don't overlook these. Like, and I know nobody's not going to because it's the college football playoff, but I am saying that we've seen surprises all season long, man. Like this season will be remembered for all the chaos. You think the chaos is going to stop just because the playoff started? No. I think we see something on either Friday or Saturday that's going to shock some folks, and I'm fascinated to see where that comes from.
Hey, you made me think of a question there, talking about the SEC championship.
Yeah.
That was a fun atmosphere, I think, because Georgia was in it and they had so many damn fans there.
Yeah.
But that game did not feel like a championship atmosphere. A week
No,
ago, whenever that was. So, and I've been saying what they need to do because they're not going to get rid of that game because they make so much money from it.
correct.
Instead of Bama, or excuse me, instead of Georgia, Texas, it should have been Bama, Ole Miss, and the winner gets to go to the playoff. I think that's how you create the atmosphere in there and make that game relevant to the fans that actually want to go to it. What thoughts on that, and thoughts on if they'll ever change anything up with the SEC championship?
I was not okay. I'm trying to phrase this the right way. I was excited to cover an SEC championship game. But when I got into the stadium and I got around the stadium, and I like to set the scene in some of the pieces that I do. Um, it was difficult, man. That didn't feel like an SEC championship game. To me, it felt like some regular season game I was attending. Um, the stands weren't filled. Okay, I mean, the upper deck seats. I was sitting there. I was had my binoculars. I was just spotting sections and sections and sections of open seats. Um, I think they're going to have to do something because sure, Texas fans. I would probably say there was like 10,000 Texas fans there. I mean, I think that's being nice. Um, but Georgia, it's so easy, you know what I mean,
Right.
for them to travel that game, especially what ticket prices are at too. I think at the end of the day, they're gonna have to try to do something. I'm not gonna act like I know what that is, but that weekend, buddy, it felt like just another regular season weekend. It didn't feel like a championship game to me. And the play on the field was really good. Okay, and we got a dramatic ending and whatnot. Like, yes, the second half, like the excitement was there. You know what I mean? But for most of the game, dude, it didn't feel it. I didn't have that. I didn't have it in years past of what it is. And maybe it was because both teams knew that they were pretty much in the playoffs and they were good. And, really what does an SEC championship do for you? It's almost like the SEC tournament in basketball. It's like, okay, you're in the NCAA tournament, you know what I mean? But you got to play all these games wherever the SEC tournament is. And, when some coaches, John Calipari, remember, he was famous. I don't care about the SEC tournament. You know what I mean? I think if we continue going down this road, I think that's what you're going to have coaches that are going to say, man, I don't want to risk a damn injury. I don't want to go get blown out because something happens during the game that changes the course and we just, it's like quicksand. So I think Greg Sankey them are going to have to do something. I think maybe the tiebreaker scenarios get a little different. I don't know how you change that up because I would have much rather have seen, like you just said, Alabama Ole Miss in that game compared to Georgia Texas because I knew Georgia and Texas were going to be already in. So
Mm-hmm.
but again, it's the SEC title game. Teams strive for that when they start the season, you know what I mean? And I get that part of it, but at the same time, they got to fix something because they cannot have a replica of what just happened in Atlanta 2 weeks ago because that was just a dead environment, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Last thing for you, Trey. Really appreciate your time. We've not had any head coaching changes out of the 16 schools in the SEC. And I don't think the bowl, even if like let's say Arkansas loses 50-0, they may fire Sam Pittman. But I don't even think the bowls will determine it. But
No.
let's say, I mean, there's a number of things that could happen. Ohio State could fire their coach, and either they hire an SEC guy or the dominoes that ensue could result in change. I know there's several coaches that if the NFL offered them a job, they'd be gone tomorrow. And I'm looking at guys like potentially Kiffin, Sarkisian, and again, I'm not saying those are going to happen but if something like that does happen, what are the odds are that we do see a coaching change in the SEC that is not a firing? I mean, is it greater than zero?
I think it's greater than zero. I'll be honest with you, I thought Mark Stoops was going to leave Kentucky and take a year off. I did. I thought that was going to be an opening. And just talking with folks, he was very frustrated in the last few weeks of that season. Was he going to pull like a Tony Bennett, for Virginia basketball, or Dave Clawson, as he liked to point it out when he just left Wake Forest. I just thought the marriage between Kentucky and Mark Stoops needed a nice separation and, figure out what the future holds and go from there, and bring somebody else in, some new blood, because Mark Stoops, in my opinion, has done everything he can at Kentucky. Everything he can. I know they can try to fight for top 25 and playoffs and whatnot. And who knows what it looks like in 2 years if we get expansion. I thought that was going to be the one. If we do get a little bit of chaos, I think it happens, right around New Year's, is there a team that gets eliminated, in the next 2 weeks, that you have a coach that's looking around? It's not going to be Marcus Freeman. I think Marcus Freeman was kind of flirting a little bit with the NFL, but what it did was it got him a contract extension with Notre Dame. I think, I'm just being honest. That's exactly what happened. I think besides him winning on the field, I think also Kiffin, Sarkisian. I think Sarkisian is going to kind of be set with Arch and kind of knows what the future looks like in that standpoint. Could I see him leaving after Arch leaves Texas? Yeah. The Kiffin situation, I know that there will be rumors out there over the next couple of weeks. But my gut tells me, he wouldn't leave right now. Because you look at the NFL jobs that would be available, and it's like, all right, you want to walk into that. You know what I mean? Like there's some spots where you're like, okay, like if I'm going to start or restart my NFL career, if you've never been there, it's like, all right, I don't know if I want to jump on board one of these trains unless it's like the Dallas Cowboys. And hell, I don't even know if I would jump on the Dallas Cowboys. So I think that when we look at it, we're sitting here on December 18th recording this. Could I see somebody just stepping away? There's only two spots I could see that happening. That'd be Kentucky or Arkansas. And I think we're kind of past that point with Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Who knows? I was surprised when Dave Clawson left. I was surprised when Tony Bennett left. I was surprised, how the Mac Brown situation went down, even though, it was his time to go. So I'd pay attention over the next 2 weeks, but I don't know if I would expect it. I think next season is when you're going to see a massive coaching carousel in college football. I think a lot of schools are trying to get through whatever the hell this revenue sharing is going to look like in the next 6 to 7 to 8 months. And then you're going to see a number of teams on a hot seat and with a hot seat coach. And I think that if it doesn't play out, I think you could see 2 to 3 jobs open up in the SEC next year, maybe even more than that. I think that's when you're going to get your carousel. I think we're kind of past the point now because of the playoffs, but man, look, there's been so much stuff that's happened over the last couple of years. Nothing would surprise me at all. It really wouldn't. If a coach decided to walk in and was like, you know what? I'm tired of dealing with this shit. I got to go. You know what I mean? I don't want to do this anymore. It wouldn't surprise me, man, because we are in a different era of this sport. And I've seen enough coaches complaining about it, that they're kind of dropping little crumbs on the floor and seeing if people are going to pick up on it. And so we'll see if it happens this year. I kind of think we're done, but again, nothing would surprise me. But look out for 25, because that's when, and the hottest one is in Southern California right now, who's losing players left and right and thought he was going to transform USC into this massive powerhouse. And he just swung and missed. So it's going to be fascinating, buddy. We got a crazy year ahead of us.
So reading between the lines, you said, don't be surprised by anything. Sounds like you're saying Nick Saban to Duke, so he can battle his old buddy, Bill Belichick at North Carolina.
Absolutely. We're going to get a defensive jousting situation on Tobacco Road. That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right, Trey, before you go, tell my audience, how can they follow you? How can they find your work?
Yeah, buddy. Appreciate you having me, man. This is always a great time. You can follow me at Trey Wallace _ on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I think it's the same thing on like that blue ski thing I just signed up for one day. Whatever. I post my stuff there. And then follow my work at Outkick.com. Look forward to being in Columbus this weekend. We'll have you covered on that game. And then I'll find out Sunday where I'm going for the next round. So it should be good. And I appreciate you having me, buddy. Love the work you guys are doing. Tell Shane I said hello and take it easy on that whiskey that he got.